Hello and welcome back to Brock's Sports Broadcasting Podcast, where today we're going to be discussing the question: was there a gender, a race or ethnicity, or a disability agenda during the Paralympic and Olympic Games 2024? We're going to divide all of the above and, with help of YouTube, datasets and scholarly articles, decide whether these genders are apparent or not. Without further ado, let's get stuck into it. Firstly, we'll discuss disability agenda. Now, we can use the datasets to easily differentiate the difference of interest between the two types of games. For example, the Paralympics YouTube channel's coverage of the opening ceremony viewership was 64,000, whereas the Olympics opening ceremony attracted 1.3 million viewers. That's over 1 million additional viewers, giving the fine evidence of somewhat agenda against the Paralympics that less people are just generally interested in it. However, the Paralympic Games did gain a rather significant amount of attention on social media this year, but not necessarily for a good reason. TikTok was responsible for a lot of attraction for the Games, but more about the comedic value of the Games rather than the talent. England amputee footballer Sean Jackson said they just chose to sort of mock them and turn them into memes and try and use their sport to entertain people from a comedic point of view, saying, "Looking through the whole account, I might have seen one or two videos where the athlete actually does something successfully," fueling the idea that there is a heavy agenda against the Paralympics in a wrong way, almost mocking it. Next, we'll discuss the idea of gender agenda at the Olympics this year, which was a hot subject. Looking at the data sets, one can identify a clear agenda between the interest of the two. Examples include the 100 metres final for the respective gender at the exact same event. The men's final attracted 3.58 million viewers, whilst the women's was 2.56, more than a million less. The reason as to why this is still questionable, but the evidence suggests heavy bias and agenda against the female participation of the Games. And the World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap Report 2023 suggests it's estimated to take another 131 years to reach full parity between the two. However, the Paris Olympics this year made a big step in the right direction towards this end goal, being the first Olympics in history where women athletes have as many places in the Games as the men. Thomas Bach, president of the International Olympic Committee, who organises it all, described the milestone as one of the most important movements in the history of women at the Olympic Games and sport overall. This massive movement doesn't disregard the remaining agenda, but encourages an idea of a time in future where such bias won't occur anymore. Finally, race and ethnicity agenda at the Olympics. Identified by the data, interest in GB athletes on Channel 4 coverage of the Games was much higher than any competing nation's success, which was expected, such as Mirjan Lopez's 5th successive gold medal in as many Games, having lower viewership than Tom Pidcock's win for GB on the bike. Now, naturally, British people are more interested in British success, that's a given. But for feats such as Lopez's shouldn't be disregarded, as they do, just because they're from a different nationality. And quite frankly, the agenda is clear. In contrast, there were success stories in the Olympics you just couldn't ignore, such as Ashraf Nadim's winning Pakistan's first ever individual gold medal in the Games, which gained more viewership than Sports Personality of the Year nominee Keely Hodgkinson's victory in the 800 metres. This attraction from the British broadcasters suggests the agenda is possibly minimal, but apparent nonetheless. Now, we've assessed the data, numbers and statistics, but what are the scholars saying? Professor Michelle Donnelly completely despises the idea that this year's Olympic Games were gender equal, as stated beforehand, and here's why. If we have a little closer look at the events that were staged this year, the men had 157, the women had 152, and there were 20 mixed. That's not equal. Men had more opportunities to win medals, and it's as simple as that. She said it's important we critically consider the IOC's claims about gender equality and hold the IOC accountable. Gender equality has not and will not be achieved if we stop demanding it. In addition, we have on the racial front, France banning hijabs at the Olympic Games. Anna Bloss had a say on this matter, stating, "No woman should be forced to choose between the sport she loves and her faith." In conclusion, all the matters of agenda, such as racial, disability, and gender, all occurred and continue to occur in sports, whether minimal or not. There is no argument about it and no evidence to suggest otherwise. As always, thank you very much for watching and joining me for this podcast. See you for the next one.